Good evening and welcome to the Planning Commission. The date is Monday, March 23rd, 2015. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. The next item of the agenda is the actual approval of tonight's agenda. I know we had a quick change we wanted to make. Julie, do you want to talk about that, please?
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, can we please reverse the order of the public hearings and discuss the code amendment to address medical cannabis dispensaries first, please?
Yes, not a problem. I think we have a motion.
Mr. Chairman, move to approve the agenda as revised.
Second. Very good. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, moving on, we have the approval for the minutes on the February 23rd, 2015 meeting. Does anybody have any changes they'd like to make on that?
I'll move acceptance or approval of the minutes of the,
I've got, we'll do one at a time, so we'll do February 23rd one first.
And second the motion.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
I think I'm an abstention to that one.
Okay. And then we'll go on to the approval for the minutes of the March 9th, 2015 meeting.
I have one correction on that meeting.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
On page 2 of those minutes, about halfway down the page, under the section, the stormwater rules updated consisted of the following. Under number 2, the word should be acre instead of care in the second line. Beginning of that sentence. I've made note of it to the staff.
Okay. Very good. Any other corrections that anyone needs to make? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Very good.
Abstain.
Any
Sorry.
abstains? Okay. All right, moving on to public hearings. The first public hearing for tonight is a code amendment to address medical cannabis dispensaries, and the request is to amend city code to define and provide regulations for medical cannabis distribution facilities. With that being said, Julie, I believe someone from the city staff will be representing this?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, please.
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, as you're well aware, recent legislative changes allow for the distribution of medical cannabis beginning in July of this year. With that recent change, city staff was approached by Minnesota Medical Solutions, and they were inquiring about the potential of locating a dispensary facility within the city of Eden Prairie. So the representatives came in and sat down with staff and explained what their business model is, what it's all about. As staff took in that information, compared it against the information that the regulations that we currently have in our city code, staff determined that the use is a very individualized use and would require some additional definition and provision within the city code in order to address that. So what you have before you this evening is a draft text amendment that does allow for a definition of what a medical cannabis dispensary is. It very much parallels the definitions and information in the state law. Additionally, the draft amendment goes on to identify the areas within the city that would be acceptable locations for a medical dispensary, and those at this point are identified as the office zoning district and the I-2 zoning district. As you'll remember from reading through your report, those areas are identified because of their ease in visibility and meeting the needs of what the applicant or Minnesota Medical was really looking for in locating their business. In addition, there are performance standards that are identified, specifically things like parking, licensing, security. Many of those things are also outlined in state law. So the draft ordinance that you have before you this evening very much mirrors what is in state law. Specifically, it even goes to the extent that it defines the law as it was in place on a certain date. So therefore, if the law changes to expand the patient availability, if you will, then that would require the city of Eden Prairie to take a look at whether or not it wants to expand with that as well. So we do have representatives from Minnesota Medical here this evening that I believe want to share some of their information with you as well. But with that, I'd open myself up to any questions that you might have.
Okay, I want to be clear as far as city staff is concerned. I'm sure this is not a meeting to decide whether we are going to do this or not. It's just deciding where it's going to happen. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, the amendment before you this evening is not about if it's going to happen or a specific site. It is just providing for the regulations in city code that would address it.
Correct. I just want to make that clear to this commission and to the members of the audience.
Correct.
Thank you. Okay, before we move forward, commissioners, do you have any comments or concerns? Okay, not seeing any. Seeing that this is a public hearing, is there anyone out in the audience that has any comments which they would like to make? It so now would be the time to come forward. Go ahead. You're welcome to come forward. Yes, please. Can you state your name, please spell your last name, and tell us a little bit about what you would like to say.
Kyle Kingsley, last name is Kingsley. Mr. Stoltz and members of the commission, thank you for having me tonight. I'm a physician, currently live in Southwest Minneapolis, and I've been practicing emergency medicine in Shakopee for about 8 years now. And I'm also the CEO of Minnesota Medical Solutions, and I just want to give you a little bit more information about us. So one thing I want to make intensely clear is that we are not going to put together anything that's like Colorado or California. We're a group of physicians, scientists, other healthcare providers, pharmacists, other members of the community who've put together a very different model for cannabis as medicine. And I find the current model that you'll see nationally pretty disturbing, and we're looking to do this very differently. So how is this going to be different? There's a few ways. Our focus is helping patients. That's a universal thing, but the way we're going to help patients is different than the national standard. One of the things that we're focusing on is quality, and we're trying to make pharmaceutical-grade medications up in Otsego, Minnesota. This is something that's been ongoing here for the last several months. And we're actually harvesting in bulk and formulating our medications here for the first time. What else are we doing differently here on the dispensary side? I don't know how familiar you are with the dispensaries in Colorado and California, but it's something I wouldn't want in my neighborhood, frankly. It's something that I wouldn't be comfortable with. Our team stepped back, and we wanted to build a model where we'd be comfortable with this being next door to our house. And we've really come up with that. I imagine a very nice surgical subspecialty clinic or medical clinic. It would be a good equivalent to what our dispensaries are going to be like. It's only going to be accessible to patients, parents, and registered caregivers. And so it's going to be an intensely private, a very medical feel to this. We have we're going to overstaff so that we have pharm techs there to discuss medication regimens with people. And again, I want to be clear that with the Minnesota law, we're looking, the people that are going to have medications are intensely ill. And we have some very sick folks that we're going to be treating. So our security is over the top. Our security director, Ron Owens, is a former Secret Service agent. And these dispensaries are going to be very secure. We are going to comply, obviously, with all the Minnesota laws and the statutes that you all come up with. The main reason I'm here tonight is I wanted to directly answer any questions that you all had regarding our process, our system, and what we hope to do with our dispensary in Eden Prairie. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to.
You know, the only question that I have would probably be, walk us through the process of how someone would go about getting this, or what are the safety precautions that you would be putting in place?
Absolutely. So just as an individual patient, how do you get the medicine? So first, what the patient will have to do is they'll have to go to their physician and get certified that they have a qualifying condition. And so I'm not sure how familiar you are with the Minnesota law, but patients who qualify under the current law are very ill. So this is people with Lou Gehrig's disease. This is people at the end of life. This is kids with refractory seizure disorders. It's not like in California where you have a little back pain and you can get certified. So you have to have a physician that's comfortable certifying you have an illness. And these are pretty clear-cut illnesses. This patient has multiple sclerosis. There will then be an interaction with the state. So the patient will be registered at the physician's office. And the patient can then provide additional information to the state, at which point the state either approves or denies the registration. So in order to get into our dispensaries, you actually have to be a registered patient, a parent, or a caregiver. And so we have a man trap, an initial vestibule that people come into. They will be checked through a window to see if they're a registered patient at that time with photo ID. If they are a registered patient, parent, or caregiver, they can come into the facility, and there'll be a waiting room there. We'll have pharmacy technicians who come out and greet them and bring them back into a private consultation room if it's their first visit or if they need modification to their medication regimen. All of our medications will be in the back, and they'll be vaulted pretty much all the time. This will be a pretty low priority target for crime. This is something that's much safer than a CVS. We have much less valuable medications and less of it. Patients do have to check out with a pharmacist as their last step before getting their medication. That has to be dispensed by a pharmacist. So we have security present at all times, at all business hours. We have over-the-top camera coverage both in the interior and exterior. And we have a lot of redundancy around the vaulting and inventory checks. So it's really going to be hard for medicine to be diverted from our facilities.
And what's the screening process for the employees that are there?
Our general counsel could maybe touch more on that, but everybody's required to go through a background check. And we actually go a step beyond that. So the current industry standard is that you have personal experience with cannabis. That's kind of how you get into the bud tender role. We're going for something very different. We're taking farm techs that are going through our training system, which we're building right now. So we're building an extensive training system that's going to really teach them about our medicines, which are different than industry standard medicines. And so we're looking for people not just, the bare minimum is to clear the background check. We're looking for people that are very patient focused and people who really buy into our model. These will be people of quality.
Great. Okay. Commissioners, any questions that you have? Not seeing any. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Again, last call. Is anyone out in the audience that has any comments or concerns about this project? Okay. I'm not seeing any. Julie, do you have any final comments?
Mr. Chair, no.
Okay. With that, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I move to recommend the approval of the code amendment to Chapter 11, Section 1120 and 1130, and add section or subdivision 4 as represented in the staff report.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We'll move on to the second public hearing. The second public hearing tonight is a code amendment relating to fence height by the City of Eden Prairie as well. The request is to amend the city code relating to the maximum fence height. With that being said, Julie, I believe you'll be taking that on as well.
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, if you recall at your February meeting, staff presented the initial version of this proposed text amendment. The amendment specifically addresses the fact that right now code allows a maximum height of fences at 6 feet, and most recently in January the building code was revised to allow fences up to 7 feet to be allowed to be constructed without a permit. So staff was proposing that the zoning ordinance be amended to comply with the numbers, or be consistent rather with the numbers that are in the building code. As a part of that discussion, the Commission asked for some additional information. Specifically, what was asked for was that there be some background provided on why the building code was changed, and then also provide a history of recent requests for overheight fences within the City of Eden Prairie. So following our discussion in February, I did speak with the building official, and it was his he informed me that the state building code changed in order to be compliant with the international building code, which changed from 6 feet to a height of 7 feet. And what prompted that change was centered around discussions for security and fencing. So then in your report, I've also provided a table that identifies all of the overheight fence requests in the last 10 years that the City of Eden Prairie has processed. If I recall correctly, there are 8 of them. They occurred in a variety of zoning districts, anywhere from residential to office, industrial, and golf course. The majority of those requests were in order to either screen outdoor storage or screen views of roadways. For the most part, the requested fence height was somewhere between 7 and 8 feet. Of course, in the golf course case, it was much higher than that because they were installing screening to protect nearby homes from stray golf balls that might wander onto their property. So staff has provided this information. I'm happy to try and answer any questions that you might have. And the draft text amendment language is provided in the staff report as well for your discussion.
So Julie, just to be clear, the chart that you're referring to is on page, I guess, 1 of the staff report for that particular one, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. And that chart goes over the last decade, over the last 10 years.
Correct.
Okay. It doesn't seem like a lot. I would have thought that would have been more. Commissioners, any comments that you have before we move forward? Not seeing any? Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
I don't know if the planning director could give us any guidance on this, but in other circumstances where the state building code is being amended, the way this has it, and why we're here tonight, there have been, as I understand, a practice of having advisory groups comprised of people in the building trades and industry to take a look at these kinds of changes and to make a recommendation to the Department of Labor and Industry in regard to changing building code language. Do you have any knowledge as to whether that was the process that was used at the state level?
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, I'm sure that the state employed a quite extensive process prior to changing the building code. I can't speak in enough detail about what exactly that process involved, but I am confident that it did include outreach to the building trade folks as well as local municipalities.
Okay. Anything else, Commissioners? Seeing how this is a public hearing? Yeah.
Just one question. Looks like you're also striking out walls and hedges in the code change. Could you explain that?
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, when you read through that provision in the code, it could be interpreted that hedges had to be 6 feet in height. So it is intended to provide a little more clarity to that specific issue, because certainly if a homeowner or a commercial property owner wanted to have a 3-foot hedge, that's certainly permissible as well.
Thanks.
Seeing that this is a public hearing, is there anyone out in the audience that has any comments or concerns about this particular project? Not seeing any. I'll entertain a motion then.
Mr. Chairman, move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, move to recommend approval of the code amendment to section 12.03, subsection 3, as represented in the March 23, 2015 staff report.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll move on. Thank you very much. Julie, planners reports for tonight. Southwest Rail Station.
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, as you'll see on your agenda, there are a couple of outreach opportunities related to the Southwest LRT. The first opportunity is a station design open house. In the city staff, as well as the consultant and the project office, will be hosting, or having rather, a charrette tomorrow afternoon, or tomorrow all day, to discuss station area design. And that information will actually be shared with you in, I apologize, the second one on your list, on Wednesday. It should read Wednesday, April 15th, not Thursday, from 7:30 to 9 a.m. So we will also be following up with an email invitation confirming that for you, but please note those changes. Wednesday the 15th from 7:30 to 9 a.m. And at that time, the city's consultant will be sharing the outcomes of tomorrow's charrette with interested parties. The other item is a station area design open house. The project office will be available at the Heritage Rooms downstairs on April 9th from 5:30 to 7:30 to visit with all interested parties about what the station areas will look like. And as you're aware, City of Eden Prairie has 5 station areas that are planned within our community. So you're certainly invited to attend those.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any questions as far as that goes for the planners' reports? Julie, do you have anything else to add?
No.
Okay. Members' report. We have something, Community Advisory Committee report.
I can do a brief update on that.
Great.
I'm just going to head over to the internet.
Okay.
I just want to do a brief update. Chuck Weber and I are on the Community Advisory Committee. We've had a couple meetings so far. I think we're still finding our footing a little bit about the direction of the committee. One thing I did want to show is through this swlrtcommunityworks.org website, all of our agendas and presentations are located at this site. I thought there was something interesting in this last meeting they went to. They went through a development update, and there was a national study done regarding TOD development, and that was something that we had discussed maybe 5-6 months ago in this committee. The question was, what things are built into TOD that fostered successful TOD?
I had my cops.
Oh, you got it now? Thanks. All right. So the question in this committee was that we discussed what are other successful TOD areas doing that is making the development a better. So I just briefly wanted to show this report, but what was interesting is this: they went through Baltimore, Charlotte, Houston, San Francisco, and so there's varying degrees of success, but it really seemed to be around the areas that were surrounding them. I asked a follow-up question of the person that directed this report, and it seems that there's nothing really specific that we need to be looking in TOD, like, you know, one line here, one line there, the minutia of while we're looking through developing the policy. It seems that the more that we're open to development is really the key for having good success when we develop these policies. So I just thought that was interesting, and I wanted to show everyone this website, and hopefully it can be put in the minutes so you can find it as well, so you can look deeper at the study. But
Can you tell us again where that report is found?
where it's at? Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's swlrtcommunityworks.org.
Got it. Okay.
And you click into the advisory committee. I can send the link to staff.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, staff can certainly send the link out to all the planning commission members.
And that link is public, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Great. Anything else to add?
No, that was it. So just, if everyone gets a chance to look at that, they have follow-up questions, I'm happy to take them back to the advisory committee. We meet
Commissioners,
once a month, so.
Anybody have any questions? Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Any continuing business for tonight? Any new business? If not, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So move.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.